Okay, so I decided to make this video because Honkai Star Rail 1.0 has been out for a little while now, and I think I've formulated my thoughts and feelings on all the characters available right now. Uh, I wanted to mark my opinion at the start of the game so I can see if it changes over time. But no, this is... I should go ahead and point out that I don't actually have all the characters, but for this video I did look into all of them pretty extensively. I think I have a very comprehensive understanding of all their kits, so I think I should be able to, make a good list, but very subject to change over time. Okay, first on here we have Arlen. His abilities don't seem very good to me because of one specific aspect of his abilities. That's he consumes HP in order to deal damage. That, coupled with, at least from what I could tell, were relatively low stats. He just doesn't seem very strong, and he seems kind of fragile. Like, I'm pretty sure, yeah, they even have it like just in the description of his ability that his HP can be reduced all the way down to 1. So it's like they have him built to make himself super fragile, and I just don't like it. And it doesn't help that there's tons of other options as well, as far as like lightning damage goes. I mean, I'm sure if you build him right with like the right set, he could be good. But for my list, I think Arlen is gonna have to go in the C tier. He just, in my experience, enemies deal way too much damage for you to want to use a character that hurts himself. It's just not a good idea. Next we have Asta, and I think I'm gonna put Asta in S tier. Now, the reason for that is that she is very, very good at one specific thing, and that is breaking enemies with fire weakness. She's absolutely insane at that. In addition to that, she also just buffs your entire team's attack and speed, just basically constantly. It's just very, very good overall, and I don't think you'll ever regret building this character because you will find good uses for her. The only thing that's like kind of maybe a little meh is that she only buffs speed and she doesn't advance your actions, which in this game, advancing actions is way better than buffing speed usually, unless your character scales off speed. But all around, very, very good character. I highly recommend her if you haven't built her yet. So we're going with S. Bailu. I think I'm gonna have to put her in S. I'm sure a lot of other people would put her in double S, just because she's like the only other healer in the game right now. But I don't really like Bailu that much, and I'm kind of inclined to put her all the way down in A. And just to clarify, I actually do have Bailu. I've pulled like five stars, and only one of them was a character, and it was Bailu. So I do have Bailu, and I have used her at least a little bit. I haven't used her too much recently. But there's certain aspects of her kit that I just really don't like. Let's see if I can find it. Okay, this one right here. When an ally receives a killing blow, they will not be knocked down. So basically, she gets a free revive. And in my experience, if the enemy is doing enough damage to kill you through Bailu's healing, then you're probably going to lose anyway. So this is kind of like a pointless ability, if you ask me. I mean, it's nice to have if you need it, but you definitely should not be building like your team around this ability. It's just not very good. And in my personal experience, I wish I was recording when it happened, but there have been several instances where it just didn't trigger. Like my Ting Yun would die, and my Bailu would not revive her, and I could never figure out why, because she hadn't revived anyone yet. So again, for my own personal mileage of this character, she seems very inconsistent. And then on top of that, her skill, if you haven't seen how it works, basically it's like pure RNG whether or not it heals the characters you want it to heal. Sometimes it bounces three times, I think, total. Yes, the initial heal and then 2 extra heals. And my RNG with this skill is non-existent. Like, there are times when all 3 bounces hit 1 ally when I need it to hit like 3 allies. And there are times when I want it to hit 1 ally, and and then it bounces to like only my preservation unit or something, the only character that doesn't need any healing. And it's just her kit just feels so inconsistent and RNG focused to me, and all she does is heal. That's it. The only way she does more than that is if you have her light cone, which lets her do more damage. But she doesn't do any damage. She does almost too much healing and not enough of anything else. So it's kind of a weird situation. I think for me personally though, I am gonna have to rate her just a little bit lower. Next we have Bronya, and I wish I had Bronya. I have had the opportunity to use her through like the game's like support system, but I kid you not, when I've used Bronya, like my damage freaking, it feels like it quadruples. I feel like I do so much damage with Bronya, it's not even funny. It's like insane. And she buffs crit damage, she buffs attack, she buffs raw damage, she buffs unlike Asta, who has just like the regular speed buff, Bronya has the skill that lets her advance an ally's actions like immediately. They do the next action, and it's so overpowered and broken, and I wish I had her. She's like the best standard banner 5-star, and I don't have her, and it makes me sad. But yeah, no, she's an easy SS tier. Let's see, we also have Clara. I don't have her, but I have seen the potential. Like, she does quite a bit of damage. And she's just very, very tanky, as I said before. At like the higher levels, enemies start doing way more damage to you. So having a character who tanks damage really well and also deals quite a bit of damage herself, I think it's pretty good. I don't think it's quite at the level where I put Bronya, but it is, all in all, I think at least an S tier here. Next we have Dan Heng, and Dan Heng, I think he's pretty okay. Like, okay, so the thing is, like, this early stage in the game, if you're, at least if you're like me, he's your only win character, which kind of automatically makes him a little better than like some of the lower tiers. And he also has some extra utility with like his skill that inflicts a slow on enemies, and I think he's okay. I think he's like, he'll probably reach somewhere in like the middle of this list, probably like A tier, like I have him right next to Bilo. He's a really good wind DPS, but I think it's only really because we don't have any other wind DPSs. Japard is another character I wish I had because his shields are insane. The question is, do I put him in SS or just regular S? Like, I think that's the real question here. All right, I think I'm gonna put S. I don't have him yet, so I don't think I should be able to say whether or not he's SS. I mean, I don't have Bronya either, but Japard, he's really, really good. If I had him, I would definitely build him. And I think he's a character that is kind of necessary for some other characters to function, and we'll get to that later, but all in all, pretty good. At least S. I'm putting him in S. Herta, I haven't actually really used Herta that much yet. I should probably double check what she does. But yeah, it's similar to like Arlen when I was doing my research on characters I haven't used much yet. Is that sure, her kit is probably good in certain situations, like in Simulated Universe and whatnot, but she just seems really, really weak. Like low base stats, low multipliers, and there's really no reason to use her over any of the other ice characters you have. But she, at least she doesn't hurt herself. Because she doesn't hurt herself to do her kit, I think I would put her just a little bit above Arlen, and I think I'm gonna put her in B. Just because, and I like, I don't know. I just feel like him hurting himself really hurts like Arlen's overall usefulness. And unless you have Yanqing, Herta's probably your only like actual proper ice DPS. So I mean, I guess that's another reason to like put her a little bit higher. Next is Himiko. Himiko, okay, I've seen her damage overall output, and it's also not very high. But if I'm being honest, I just really, really like her character design. Like, it's just a very appealing overall design. So I'm kind of wanting to put her a little higher. I don't think I can. I'm gonna go with B. The passive she has of follow-up attacks based on how many enemy, like how many breaks you get on the enemy, is certainly different, but generally speaking, you're not going to be breaking enemies often enough to make that actually useful for most of like late game combat stuff. Okay, next we have Hook. And I'm gonna put her A. Her damage is just better, like generally better than Himiko's, and she has some extra utility with like the burns and whatnot. I think she's fine. I don't think she's horrible. I don't think she's amazing. I think she's just fine, kind of like Don Hug. Okay, so next we have Jing Yuan. And Jing Yuan's damage is kind of insane. So much so that I think I kind of have to put him in SS. Basically, the way his kit works is that you want to use his skill and his ultimate to constantly generate stacks for his JoJo stand that he summons to battle the Lightning Lord. He generates, I think it's 2 stacks with the skill and 3 stacks with his ultimate, and he can get a max of 5 stacks. And at maximum stacks, his Lightning Lord is kind of crazy. It's just like, it's kind of unfair how much damage it does. I think I kind of like have to put him in SS. He's just that good. And plus it's like unconditional. Like Clara, her damage, although it's also very good, is conditional on the fact that she has to be attacked. Whereas Jing Yuan, he just attacks. Like he just uses his skill and uses his ultimate and he's good. Next we have March 7th. Okay, so right now we have 2 ice shielders in this game. And between the 2, I think Japard is better. But I do think March 7th, I think she does have her place. I think she can be very good in the right situations. Realistically, for like a really long time, she will be your best shielder unless you got lucky enough to get Japard. So I think she's very, very good. It's similar to the situation with Hook and Don Hung. I do think there's lots of potential for her to get power crept. But for right now, I think she's at least A tier, so I'm gonna put her in A tier. Okay, Natasha is our next one. And I really like Natasha. Like her ultimate doesn't cost a lot. Her skill can heal for a fair amount and also has a cleanse. And I just personally, she's like way more consistent than Bailu, at least for me. And I think she also belongs to like the better element for a support, which is physical. Because if I understood the calculations correctly and whatnot, the numbers correctly, physical break generally does more damage than stuff like lightning break. So if you need her to do damage, she will do more than Bailu does. I think that's really nice. I think her Eidolons are also very, very good, unlike Bailu. But like Bailu's Eidolons, I think are kind of terrible. God, the more I talk about it, the more I want to like move Bailu down. But I'm gonna leave her there. I'll leave her there. Natasha's very good. I don't think you can go wrong building her. She's like, for most people, she's literally your only healer right now. So she's kind of like a must build because she's like your only option. I think she's at least S tier. So I'm gonna put her in S. Next we have Pela. I also really like Pela because she's really good in a lot of situations. Specifically if you need to do extra DPS and you already have like your Team Yoon and whatnot and the other team. She's very good for that. I think I'm gonna put her in S because I personally just find myself using her quite a bit. I'm not sure what the final number is, but she can reduce she has a 100% base chance to inflict expose on enemies, and when they're exposed, enemies' defenses are decreased by 32% for 2 turns. On top of that, she also debuffs enemies, and it's just like she feels like a very good all-around nihility character. Just very useful for a lot of scenarios and situations. I think she has a lot of staying power, and I think she's pretty strong. And I think if you have her, she's like a lot of your teams just get like at least a little bit better. Qingchua. Okay, so the thing, like I think she does do a decent amount of damage, but I feel like she's like just a little too RNG dependent, and I don't really like characters who aren't very consistent. Like Bailu's a great healer, for example, but a lot of her kit feels kind of RNG to me. Same with Qingchua. Because the way her skill works, I mean, the way her overall kit works, is that she's basically a basic attacking unit who can enhance her basic attack by pulling the correct like jade tiles She needs 4 of a kind. She draws 1 like every time an ally takes turn. She draws 2 whenever she uses her skill, for like a total of 4 at any given time, and she needs 4 of a kind in order to enhance her basic attack. And if you can get that 4 of a kind, she does great damage. She's great. But if you can't get that 4 of a kind, then she's kind of just either a skill point sponge or a basic attack bot. So it's like, sometimes she feels like she could be like an SS tier, but other times she feels like she could be a C tier. So it's like, where do I put a character like this? I think because you want your characters to be more consistent. I think I'm gonna have to like, and I do think she has like a lot of potential, but because she lacks that consistency, I think I'm gonna go to B. Sampo is the next one, and I like this character for his personality. I think right now there isn't a lot, because he's like a DOT unit, but a lot of his kit revolves around dealing DOT damage, and there just isn't a lot of ways to like boost that right now, unless you're in simulated universe. So if you're in like simulated universe, he's like an S or even like an SS tier, like he's great. But outside simulated universe, he's kind of just okay, just kind of mid. I'm gonna put him in B. He's kind of just okay right now. I can see a lot of potential for him growing in the future, but it's fine. Let's see, Sela. I'm gonna put Sela in SS tier for basically the same reason I put Jing Yuan in SS tier, in that she just deals tons of raw damage. And Resurgence is probably one of the most broken passives in this game, because when you kill someone as Sela, she gets basically an extra turn, and she has like a, I don't know what the max number is, but like on average probably around like a 50% just raw damage boost for her next attack. It's just really, really good. I have a very hard time imagining they release a new DPS that can outpace her in single target damage. She's just kind of insane. Next we have Serval. And Serval, she's kind of just like the weaker Jing Yuan. Like, I think she's still pretty good in a lot of the scenarios where she's good in. Like, better than these B tier characters. But compared to Jing Yuan, she's just like it's not even a contest. So I think she's roughly middle of the pack, right in A tier. Xusheng, I do have Xusheng, but I haven't actually built her yet. Like, I have built her a little bit, but there haven't been a ton of scenarios where I felt like I needed her. I do feel like she's pretty good in general, like her sword stance damage, which is what she procs whenever she breaks an enemy. I mean, she can proc at any time, but the guarantee is when she breaks an enemy. I feel like that damage can be very, very good and very, very substantial. She also has a similar mechanic to Sela in that, well, Sela, she gets killed, she gets an automatic turn like right away. Xusheng, when she uses her ultimate, she advances her actions by 100%, so it's like functionally very similar. I feel like she's pretty good. I probably should build her for like the content where people are weak to physical, because I really do think she's actually really, really good. So I'm gonna put her S. Ting Yun, she's easily like an SS tier unit. She buffs attack, she buffs damage, and more importantly than anything, she gives energy. And she's like one of the few ways you can get energy back for an ultimate faster. And at the same time, she'll boost your damage for that ultimate. Or like if you ask me, Ting Yun is the character that kind of makes characters like Jing Yuan, let's see, where is she? Jingchua, Bailu, she helps make them functional because she makes it so that they get their ultimates faster. Like maybe right after Bronya, she's probably like the best enabler in this game right now. She's just really, really good, and I feel like it's pretty self-explanatory. Physical Trailblazer. I mean, if Xusheng did not exist, then I think I'd probably rate them a little higher because it'd be like the only physical. I mean, actually, like, it's Clara. Not bad per se. Like, I don't know, they just do their physical damage. They do an okay amount, and that's kind of it. I would place like all these units above it, like at a higher value, just higher overall value. So I think I kind of have to put them in B. Like, there's also just like that extra factor. You know, now that I think about it, I might put them all the way down in C. Now, my reason for putting him in C is because of Fire Trailblazer, and I would put Fire Trailblazer at SS. And the reason why I'm gonna get into that in a second, but the reason why I'm putting Physical Trailblazer at C is because you want your Trailblazer always on fire. There's no reason to ever switch them back to Physical unless you just really desperately need like a physical DPS and you don't have Clara or Sushing. But most of the time, this character just will not exist on your account because you will be using Fire Trailblazer. So I think for that reason, because they can't exist at the same time, I think I kind of want to put him at C. Because I mean, at least these other characters up in B, they have extra functionality that makes it so they actually are useful in some ways. But Physical Trailblazer is kind of just there. I try to put him like a little above Arlen, just because I just really don't like Arlen's self-damaging aspect. But yeah, no. Physical Trailblazer goes down to C. And for Fire Trailblazer, this character kind of does it all. And you could make an argument for them being like the best overall character for survivability. Like, sure, Japard and Bailu and Natasha will keep you alive and they'll do it pretty well. But Fire MC has, I think, the best taunt. I mean, Japard is probably a little better with his light cone, but you need his light cone. Fire Trailblazer just really strong. Like, the shields themselves don't block a ton of damage, but literally every action you take as this character, be it a basic attack, a skill, or an ultimate, will generate shields for your entire team. So like every turn you take with her, you are shielding your team, and plus you can also use her ultimate to like add shields in between enemy attacks and whatnot. Their basic attack does quite a bit of damage, so they have plus on top of that, you also get tons of Eidolons for this character completely for free just from playing the game. And her Eidolons are kind of crazy. Basically, she just adds defense scaling for like her entire kit. And I don't know, this character is just really good, and I'm kind of amazed at how strong they made this character. And I have a very hard time believing they release another character that does so much so well anytime soon. It's kind of like Bronya. Like, Bronya as a Harmony character kind of seems like she does everything, and it's kind of like the same with Fire MC. They feel like they do everything, and I just really like them. So pretty easy SS tier for me. Welt, I don't have him, and I really want him because he's literally the only imaginary character we have right now, and because he slows enemies and prevents them from taking their turns. I'm gonna put him in SS tier because that like utility of slowing enemies and making it so that they can't do anything even when they do get their turn is kind of just insane. I absolutely love it. And I wish I had him, just like I wish I had Rodia, just like I wish I had all these characters. He's just really good. You can't really go wrong with building him. Okay, finally we have Yanqing. If I was going based purely on damage potential, he probably would be S or SS tier. But there's one aspect of his kit that I really don't like that I think really hinders him quite a bit. And that's the fact that he can't take damage. Like, at all. When Yanqing receives damage, his passive will disappear. Which is to say this crit rate, crit damage aspect of his abilities. But this right here, the fact that he can't take damage, I think really hinders him quite a bit. And to my knowledge, there's like no way he gets it back. Pretty much to play this character, you pretty much have to have Japard, or you have to have March 7th, and you have to get their shields up before the enemies can attack him. And sure, part of his passive makes it so he's less likely to be attacked, but a lot of the enemies in this game, from my experience, have AoE attacks that attack your entire team. So even if he's less likely to be single targeted, he can and will still take damage. So you have to have either March 7th or Japard, who are the only ones that have enough shields to prevent him from taking too much damage. Because as far as I understand it, it's only his HP. Like, if if he takes shield damage, he's still fine. But if he takes health damage, he's screwed. And that's just a very annoying aspect of a character's kit to me. You know, it's just, I don't like it. I think I have to put him all the way down in A. Like, I would probably never use him. Like, unless I just really needed that ice DPS, then I would definitely use him. But if I don't need it, he's just going unused. Okay, so this is my final list for Honkai Star Rail 1.0, the initial patch, I guess you could say. I can see how my opinions on lots of these characters can and will change, probably within even just the next few weeks. Like, as I get farther through Forgotten Hall and Memory of Chaos, I'll probably be like want to shove Bailu up to the top just because she'll become super necessary to survive. Or I could see myself like putting like Wilt down as we get more imaginary characters or something. But I think for right now, I think this is pretty good indication of how I feel about most of the characters in this game. If you like my list, feel free to leave a like. If you disagree, feel free to leave a comment telling me why you disagree and why I should change my opinion on a given character, because I am open to changing my opinion. Like, this is a very flexible list. But no, if you were watched, thank you for watching, and have a great day.